series on how to build your financial war chest. Admin, can you help me spotlight? Okay, I can see Fisayo. Yes, FO, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon,
sir.
Good
afternoon. Good afternoon, PF. Such a pleasure to be here. So I want to take an approach today that is more interactive.
We can't see your camera, Fisayo.
You can't see my camera. Okay, I think I may have switched it off inadvertently. Yes.
Okay, yes.
So I want to take an interactive approach today. So I want to ask questions. I don't want to talk. I want to only answer questions because I had a speaking engagement today, and this is my third engagement, third meeting. Sometimes the schedule is like that on a Sunday, and I find that people can nod in verbal and mental consent and not really get something usable. So I want to ask you questions, and I want you to help me with practical answers on how you will use what we have been learning over the last 4 Sundays. So the first question is, what jumped out of you the most over the last four weeks? What jumped out of you the most? And what jumped out to you the most in terms of answers? You see, because the soul recognizes light when it needs it, right? So what have you gotten that you say, I can use this, it can change my life? Anyone, just either you put it in the chat box, or you signify by raising your hand, or, I'm getting replies already. Fantastic. Someone said, if you are not on the table, you're on the menu. Yes, that's true. Because the heavens belong to the highest bidder. And people are placing bids all day. I realized that sometimes what we teach, I realized that it's not easy. Today I was sharing in the church about the difference between righteousness and morality. And, I could see people's eyes were open. How dare you say that, righteousness is different from morality? And it hits me that a lot of teaching needs to go in the direction of getting people to align with God, which is essentially aligning with nature, because God put himself in the systems of nature. So if you are not on that table, you are definitely on the menu, right? If you are not in the place where policy is being made, then the policy is being made about you, and they are sort of shaving your head behind your back. So thank you for that. I see another one. You can't afford to play small. Why would you want to play small? And this is the question I have. Why would you want to live and be a shadow of what you could be? Everything you have seen today is a microcosm of what you can be, right? Nigeria is such a small market. And for those of you that live abroad, you already know it. Every time I go out with my kids in the UK, I always tell them, I say, when you come out like this, look around and see the economy of where you are. See the small shopping malls and compare it to your ShopRite over there. See 24-hour businesses and see hospital businesses running for 24 hours, and see what security can do to an economy, just having security. And understand that some of these restaurants in the small restaurants in the UK will do £500,000 in revenue in a year, right? And so you must think about it and think about everything in terms of macroeconomics. How do we make the lives of people better? And the lives of people can never be better in a country where uh, people think that they can do better without making others do better. Do you understand what I'm saying? Adam Smith said in The Wealth of Nations that you can never improve your own circumstances without improving the circumstances of those around you. So one of the great laws of wealth is that you must be about improving the circumstances of those around you. So why would you want to play small? It doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Someone says start taking action, stop being passive. Okay, so what's the definition of a wicked servant? One that hides his talent, right? The first one, they gave talents, he multiplied it. The second one, they gave talents, multiplied it. The one that hid it was called a wicked servant, right? So I was telling them that if you are praying that the wealth of the wicked should be transferred to you, be careful that you're not the wicked in the story. And I always say that. So that thing that you are not doing yet, some of you have said, I will start this business XYZ, I will start this business XYZ. You're wasting time. You're going to see your business idea out in the open. Someone else would have started it. You know why someone else needs to do it? Because the business is not about you, it's about the people that will benefit, it's about people. And people are God's priority, people are nature's priority. If the idea has come to you and you're not willing to do it, then someone else must take it and do it. Because God does not give people ideas, He places it on frequencies. First come, first serve. Right? So start. Go and start. Yes. Mariama, thank you. The thinking mind is the one that God speaks to. God only speaks to thinking men. Right? So how would I explain this? The journey from where you are to where you are going is a journey that has to do with a lot of steps, right? And those steps require thinking. You're going to think yourself through those steps with guidance from God, right? When they were asking Shubomi Balogun how they said, did you know that you will set up a bank that will be alive in this day and age? He said, I did not know. He said it was a shot in the dark, guided by the invisible hands of the Almighty. Now, I went to Ijebu during the week to go and look at Shubomi Balogun's hospital for kids, what he had set down. My brother, I will never be poor. let me just say it like that. If you see what the investment that these guys made 20 years ago, he says, and he told me, let me just put it this way. It took me an hour to walk around the facility, right? And they were all bungalows and maybe one floor. It took me an hour to walk around, solid campus. So where you are saying these great things you are looking for, people have it. You just have to open your mind and stop thinking small. And you have to engage your thinking. And then you have to act. That part of acting, eliminating fear, you have to eliminate fear. Some people are just afraid. You have the best ideas. You are the wisest person in the room. You even have understanding to execute, but you are just afraid. And you have to eliminate fear. So stop being scared, act. Yes. PF, I'm so happy. People are really pasting here the things that they've learned. Someone said traffic, people, wisdom, and skills. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. So let's take traffic and people. The relationship between wealth, traffic, wisdom, and people, right? There's a relationship. So people are your target market, who you are going to touch. Wisdom is the solution that you are going to give them. Traffic is the channel and the rate at which you are going to get it to them. And if you don't have those things in a row together, you may end up not getting it. So you have to learn to traffic your solution. Now you can traffic your solution by creating platform, or you can use other people's platform, or you can create a platform for people to traffic their solution, which is what your social media has become. You have to start thinking like people or thinking about people. Have you seen the new house Elon Musk moved into? Who has seen it? I'm sure PF, you've seen it. It's like a small solar house, right? Now, when I saw it, as someone that thinks deep about things, I asked myself, does Elon Musk love creation or nature or people more than me? That's the question I was asking myself. That why is this guy constantly coming up with solutions? He has enough money already. He's still coming up with solutions. Do you know that that is solar house? If you deploy it, they said the house is $10,000, and it's comfortable. You should see the house. If you put that house in Nigeria in the ghetto here, what's the law here? $10,000 is what? You know. So when you think about that, 15 million naira a house. So you can create an estate of those kinds of houses. Why is Elon Musk still coming up with those kinds of solutions? He's the one that came up with the electronic car. He's now coming out with the electronic house that will not need generator. House. So when I think about it, I'm like, there must be something that this guy knows that I don't know, or that we all don't know. You don't sit down and say, "Oh, see this Elon Musk, the agent of the devil, agent of the devil." No, these guys are solving problems, the problems of humanity, and that's where we must place ourselves, right? So how do I solve a problem and then create traffic around it, to get the world to understand, right? So, wow, the concept of legality and witnessing for yourself, right? So I said that the spirit realm is legal and it's not fair. And there's a need for you to understand the law, or else you will not prosper, right? So, for instance, I can't go to America now and just start doing business, because the first law of faith or the first law of wealth is jurisdiction. I need to be able to have jurisdiction there, right? So, so there's a concept of legality. Um, and if you're here, you have still not registered your business, or you do things online, you make money here and there, and you're coming for this meeting, you don't have a registered entity, you're not paying tax. Look, you're not serious. Everything we are saying, you can't even fall on you because you are not serious. You have to be an entity that's recognized by law to have jurisdiction to earn in that place. Tax, jurisdiction, everything. Because we're now talking about big levels of business, not hustling where you don't have a business and you don't have a bank account, right? Please, we shouldn't be talking about those things. Go and sort it out. Create an entity, give yourself jurisdiction. The heavens belong to God, but he has given the earth to the sons of men. The earth is for the highest bidder. Okay? So someone says the flexibility of even great JB when they went into cashew. Wealth being a game of numbers. That's a deep one. So let me ask everybody here, if you were to diversify or pivot your current business, what sector would you go into? Please feel free to answer in the chat. If you were to pivot from what you're doing now, what new sector will you go into? And what countries will you operate? 1 minute, you can answer. Food, agriculture, Africa. Production and export. PF, you don't create export. People want the export too. I love it. Tomato processing and export. Nigeria, Africa, and Europe. Operations in Nigeria, export abroad. Real estate, UK and Europe. This is very interesting. And this is the point now that your eyes are open. And I like the export thing that PF did now. Look, export is big money right now. Economic sector, business analysis, UK, food and gourmet travels. Interesting. You know those that like Chop Life Incorporated. Okay. Now, they say that ideas rule the world, right? But it's a lie. Let me just put an end to that there. Ideas do not have jurisdiction on the earth. Just like spirits do not have jurisdiction on the earth. Ideas do not have jurisdiction on the earth. That's why Miles Monroe said that the grave is full of ideas. Ideas do not have the right to operate on the earth. In order for an idea to stand, an agenda or an idea to operate successfully on the earth, it must come in contact with a man, which is you. It is the combination of the man and the idea that give jurisdiction and give the ability to make money or the ability to do something. So ideas are not enough. Don't let anyone say it's all about ideas. No. At the same time, it's not those that, you hear people saying, hey, I won't go into partnership because this guy wants to cheat me, is my idea. Can your idea make money on its own? Your idea cannot do anything until systems are built around it, people come around it. So don't be afraid to share it, even if your idea, the grave is full of ideas. Ideas cannot do anything on the earth except they have people to drive them and systems, right? So it says to every seed he gives a body. The idea needs a body. The idea as a seed needs a body, right? So this is very important, very, very important. So for those of you that have ideas and you have just stopped at idea level, ideas cannot do much for you without a body. So someone says, so I said that in response to the person who says, Lara, who says you need to meditate on your idea, work on it, and legalize it. Legalizing your idea is to give it an entity. That entity is what has jurisdiction to now operate, right? As a light, you must shine your light in the midst of darkness. Yes, and I said it, and I'll refine what I said, that some of you, darkness has had to surround you because your light is just like a lantern. And so that your small light can shine, we need darkness to surround you. Because if there's light, you are useless. If you work in an office where everybody's light, they would have fired you since. So darkness has covered the earth, gross darkness the people, and then we can see the small candle that you have put on. So your job is to bring greater light. Said it makes the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. Right? Someone said you will sow what you reap, not necessarily where you reap. Right? That's also true. God has a socio-economic plan. That plan means that you also become a co-caretaker with him of people, right? Let me say this very quickly. That if you want to be wealthy, you have to listen. And this is something I didn't plan to say, but listen. If you want to be wealthy, you have to plug into God's socio-economic plan. His socio-economic plan is this: get everybody's jurisdiction so that they can create wealth. This jurisdiction thing is very important. However, for those that do not have jurisdiction, that in every population, there are people that naturally don't have jurisdiction. One is a stranger, right? Someone that is RJG, a stranger that comes, an alien that comes into a country, just comes on a visiting visa. Naturally, can't open a bank account. He doesn't have jurisdiction to do business and scale and really make money. So the first person that doesn't have jurisdiction is a stranger. The second person that doesn't have jurisdiction is the poor. The third person is the orphan. More often than not, the orphan. So you know what he said in Leviticus? He said, when you glean your field, he said, don't take everything. He said, don't go back and glean all the corners. Leave some for the poor and the stranger. I am your God. I am the Lord your God, meaning I am your sustainer. Don't go and think, oh, let me go back. No, leave it for them. That's my socio-economic plan. Is CSR for them to eat. Now, what that also means is that I have given you their portion of meat, which means that as someone who wants to be wealthy in this life, the wealthiest people know this. Listen to me. You may want to write this down. The wealthiest people in the world know this, that 100% of their money is not for them. Do you hear what I'm saying? 100% of their income is not their own. The Jews know it. The Jews practice it. If that anytime they spend 100% of their income, they are entered into robbery and fraud. I'm not joking. This is something that you will never hear this anyway, because the rich don't say it, but they do it. Anytime you enter in, you spend 100% of the money that comes into your hand, you have entered into fraud and robbery, because it's not your own. There's a percentage for the poor, for the widow, for the stranger, and for the homeless. And you are supposed to put that money aside. When they come to you, you don't say you don't have, because it's their money. The Jews practice this thing seriously. The Hausas also do it seriously. There are a lot of cultures that do it in different ways. The wealthy do it. They call it corporate social responsibility. But it's also giving back. The reason we give back is because the world, in its social order, knows that 100% of the money that comes into your account is not for you. The fastest way to enter this thing is to commit yourself to be a co-caretaker of God. By now, it's not even foundation. You should have where your places that, apart from tithe and all, or whatever, if you do all those things, where your money goes to. Say, I'm responsible for XYZ, that person's school fees, that person's. You must. If you don't have it, you are a fraud. I'm serious. So I wanted to say that. Malleability and ductile ability is critical to the goal and target for a long-term play. What other business is today required? Uncle G. Wow. Right? The industries that will thrive in the next 10 years don't exist today. So you need to be malleable. You need to be flexible. Right? They don't exist. That's just the truth. Some of them are sub-industries that do not exist. That if your children tell you this is what they want to study in school, you'll be angry. You too, you need to go and look at the future so you don't stand in their way. They might be the billionaires of the future. They might be the billionaires of the future. So let's take a 10-year stab into the future. What industries will thrive? Will it be tech in its current form? Will manufacturing be dead? What industries will thrive? Let's think about it. And let's invest there today so that it meets us in the future, right? Open myself to meet new people. Knowledge grows in the night and wisdom. Okay, so yes, you cannot stay at home all day. Remember that if people are God's priority, and this world is a game of numbers, the more people you know who trust you enough to pay you, the more money you are allowed to make. Equation one, finish. If people are God's priority and wealth is a game of numbers, the more people you meet who you can get to trust you to pay you, the more money you have. If you are someone that stays at home and doesn't go anywhere, more often than not, and you can tell yourself you're an introvert, but you're preparing yourself for a very narrow life. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're preparing yourself for a very narrow life. Yes, I already said this about ideas. Ideas do not rule the world. It is when you tap into the frequency of ideas per time and execute it that you rule. Opportunities abound in darkness and in chaos. It says hidden riches in secret places and treasures in darkness, or treasures of darkness. there is a prerequisite for darkness and treasures that are in those darkness. In fact, because God is more interested in what you become than what you have. So when you're going through something, He's more interested in the outcome on your soul. Because remember, your soul will determine how far you prosper. So but you are more interested in getting that thing to end today. God, let it end. But God is more interested in who you become. So you are waiting for, let me just call PF. Let PF send me $1,000. Let me just be all right. But God said, calm down, don't call PF. There's something I want to do in your life. Don't go and put PF under pressure. There's something I want to do in your life. I want to introduce you to myself, to me, the provider, right? But you want to call PF, right? You want to accept deliverance. He said they refuse to accept deliverance because of the greater resurrection, right? So there's a point where you know you are in school, you are being trained about XYZ, and you should submit yourself to the process. Yes. Yes, thank you for that. There's so many comments. I'm so excited. Waiting on the difference between righteousness and morality. I'll come back to that when I finish reading the other comments. The billionaires and billionaires that will rule the world in the next couple of years are being birthed in this recession. Bam! Thank you. In fact, there's nothing like a recession, an absolute recession. There's only a depression. And you see that depression happen, maybe the world has seen once or twice, the Great Depression, where everything's just off. Every other recession that the world experienced was a recession on one side, was like accounting, was a double entry. Recession on one side, crediting on the other. So I was telling someone today, I said, if you enter Abuja now, things have started flowing, but boys are quiet. It's as if they've told themselves, don't talk when you're eating, right? But you know that things are flowing, but they've all, don't talk, but it's flowing, right? So that's it. There's one sector that's experiencing recession. The other sector is things are flowing. You have to ask yourself, where is it flowing? Where can I play? Right? And that's it. You don't lose hope. You don't start talking wrongly about Nigeria or about your work. You ask yourself, there are some millionaires being formed, billionaires being formed right now. Where are they? And that's where you need to find yourself. Wealth is inherited, not created, passed through from generation to generation. So which family do I belong? I love that. Well, that's the truth. Because everything has already been created. Wealth is not created. Wealth is passed through. So opportunities will come for me to create wealth with my brothers. And for you, some of you, God has sent you people that you have stoned. Now, my advice is that you go and buy an expensive gift and you beg them. Someone like PF now, let's say me and PF has fought. I'll just look for his house and go and buy gifts and say, even whether I'm wrong or right, I'm sorry. Because there are some people that are that important in your life that your future wealth is hinged on that relationship, right? And when the relationships want to flourish, offense comes in. That's why Jesus said, blessed is he that is not offended in me. Now, when that offense comes in, you lock yourself out from the miraculous thing that can happen through that relationship. So don't stone your siblings. That's the moral of the story. I mean, for instance, Herbert Wigwe and Igboje Mokwe, they are siblings. They recognize each other from when they were young to when they started Access Bank. I just imagine an inverse reality where Fola and Tayo did not start GT Bank, Ig and Herbert did not meet, and recognize each other as siblings. It might have been very different, So there are some people that are relying on you, doing well and on you taking what they're doing even global. Now, still many comments. Your sector may not be commercially ready for you. Be flexible. Says this was strong for me. Be flexible. Capital is more money. You will reap what you sow, not where you sow. Right? So sometimes You have an idea that may not be ready for you. You might have to do something else before you do that thing. But I find so many people, they get so stuck, I have to do it. Joseph had to interpret other people's dreams before he interpreted his own. You might have to do something else in getting ready, in raising a little capital or getting a little bit of experience before you do that thing that seems, And I told you, it's not about your passion. Forget your passion. Your heart is desperately wicked. It can deceive you. It's about what needs to be done. Even in strategy, we don't talk about passion. Because if you do your work well, eventually you will get to do your passion. I can tell you now that my passion is playing the saxophone. I carry the saxophone on the streets of my estate and start playing. That's my passion. Wallahi, it's PM that will feed my family. So you have to be careful, right? You have to be careful with passion. What your hand finds to do. You will eventually get to your passion, right? So many comments. God is all about people. Anything that you are involved in that does not consider humanity, be careful. God may not be in it. Just the humanity. Oh, we are Christians and we're like this, or we are Muslims and we're like this. And because you are locked into your faith, you cannot be say Isaiah. You cannot be, because you're locked in your faith, you cannot care for your human beings. Look, empathy is the world's biggest business model. Being able to put yourself in your customer's shoes is the greatest source of inspiration for creating wealth, right? And if you cannot do that just because you say you're not going to a church or you're not going somewhere, they teach you some things that leave you devoid of human emotion, then you may be missing it. So many ideas, human systems. Okay, I'm getting. Yeah, someone said when we give to the poor, we lend to God. When we give to the poor, we lend to God. Okay? We're together and playing saxophone. Oh, yeah. Esther, let's go and play saxophone on the street. It's our passion. You have to understand these things because um, it's very real, right? So now that we've taken all these comments, I want to ask, does anyone want to share a testimony of how you think you can or you may have appropriated some of the things we've said with a real life example? I really, really, really appreciate that so that we can maybe even help to fine tune it. If you lift your hands, I will just signify. Do you want to share? Don't be shy. Thank you, Lara. The floor is yours.
After listening in the last few weeks, I've always thought of going into agriculture. And a few weeks ago, I mentioned it to someone I know, and she said, "Oh, I have some acres of land." So I'm liaising with somebody at the moment who's going to help me because I had an idea of cassava, tomato, yam. So we're sort of starting something to export.
Are you in Nigeria, Lara?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, are you in Nigeria?
No, I'm not in Nigeria, I'm in London.
Interesting. So you're did you ever see yourself going into agriculture?
No, but I think after we started the classes, and looking at the situation in Nigeria, I just thought, and after you spoke, I just thought it's something one should look into.
So agriculture is not your passion?
No, I'm a fashion designer.
What if your first £1 billion comes from agriculture?
Well, thank God for fashion. I'll follow because I'm thinking of different things to do with it. Not
Thank
just
God for fashion.
It's made me think a bit more because I'm even thinking of other stuff to do with the things that I make, cassava, not just cassava, but making it into other things. Because cassava is not just for food. You can use it in medicine, for fabric, for things. It's made me think deeper.
Thank you, Lara. Remember what we said? God speaks to thinking men. God speaks to thinking men. So that you're thinking is going to bring light to your soul on a level that, you didn't know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Larry, thanks for your comments. He says, I work with a technician in my car tracker installation business, and he makes more profit on it than I do. A part of me wants to pay him, say, why am I paying him this much? But I understand what you've said about the soul and money. Yeah, but as a business decision, you can learn how to do it and forward integrate. Why are you giving him all that money if it's more than the money you're keeping? Right? I like it. People are very responsive. I like the fact that so you're getting some of the things we're saying, right? And I pray that as those things enter into you internalize them even more, and then you can work with them. Because the truth of the matter is that light is in installments. You may not see the end from where you are today. In fact, half of the time, if you see the end, you will run. So it comes in installments. And those installments are triggered by motion sensitivity. The idea is as you move, the Red Sea parts. As you move, the sea parts. It's motion sensitivity. The doors are programmed to stay shut until they sense you approaching. You will never see the end from the beginning. So please start. If you get an idea, pray about it, think about it, plan about it, and start. What will bless your soul is the first time someone gives you money for it, then you know you're onto something. Right? But don't say, oh, I can't do this because it's not my passion. It's okay. Any other person wants to share before we close? I've not heard my FFL's voice. Dr. Princess.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
I've been to a particular training for a while.
Your mic is not very clear.
Okay. Give me a second. I'll come back on.
It's not clear. Yuji says, I went to a car wash recently. Yes, it's better
now. Is it
now.
better?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Great. I've been arranging a particular training for a while, trying to really, of course, also make money as well as make some impacts on that training on forensic interviewing in Nigeria. I think PF is very much aware of that. I've had only one organization able to pay for it since 2020. And so that was why I said something about commercially, some things are not ready, for some certain things in the country. So I just began to think, okay, this thing is so needed. So how can I make sure we can actually do this in the country? I just began to think about it, and this helps with the child sexual abuse investigation and how the children are addressed and spoken to, and we have very few. I was the first in the country, not the first Nigerian, but the first in Nigeria, and we have just like maybe less than 20 of us now in the country. And so I had this brainwave approach this university in the US. If we could work together, that in 2 years, let's train 300. Let's see how we can raise funds and reduce the money so much that nobody's even paying anything, but we work with the system to get more interviewers in the country. And I just sent the email, I think it was last week, and they agreed. And we're already working on, putting together a TOT and then work with us to see us train 300 interviewers in the next 2 years. I mean, just thinking about expansion, not making money. There was no idea of making money in that particular thought line, and it just sailed through and we responded, and it's working. We are on it right now on the plan. Just wanted to share that as part of
Thank you.
I got.
Thank you so much. And this is it, light, gradual installment, light, right? Someone said I went to a car wash recently and saw how this is printing cash in Texas, and I want to acquire this dirty business and clone it forward into other states. Can you imagine the scale that people are thinking of? Someone said I've connected with 2 people to co-create a total well-being center with organic farming, so there's easy access to fresh produce. Production of a particular tea from a weed that grows in Nigeria. We had our first meeting 3 weeks ago. The weed is so loaded with benefits. The Expo Masterclass has further ignited this. I mean, these answers are just, I'm like, are people just faking it? Or is PF setting me up with fake answers? But this is just amazing. You know that you can actually make connections. Someone said I'd been off any type of work for about 3 years due to ill health. One day, a sibling to my husband who knew I love to make smoky jollof rice asked me to make jollof rice for 10 people. I did, and it was a hit. I did out of love and wanted to do something for my husband. Once having been there for me for what is between December and today, I have catered for the company's event twice and gotten paid. You know, this is amazing. So there are ideas that can be birthed. The first thing is, what level are you asking questions? You can only receive answers at the level at which you're asking questions. Then when you find the answer, do you have the courage to go and bring it to pass? Even with your courage, do you love people enough to see their needs and meet their needs, or are you stuck on your passion? I know the responses are not fake. We are angry and hungry for change. Poverty and lack is not an option. God bless you. God bless you, Aditum. All right, PF, over to you.
Don't go because
I'm still here. I'm willing to take more questions.
Okay, so if you have any question for Fisayo, please
if you are stuck
up.
anywhere, we want practical now. If you are stuck anywhere, and just tell us. Let's see if we can help. Power through it.
They said the responses are not fake. We are hungry and angry for a change. Poverty and lack is not an option. All right. You know, I mean, you know, I was saying something before you came up beside that. I'm looking at the budget padding in Nigeria, and I'm looking at the more they say there's no money in Nigeria, you know, I'm looking at what people are stealing. It's just absolutely insane to think of what is still, I mean, the natural resource in Nigeria is still talking about oil. There are several others that we have not even started exploring, and I'm wondering why.
Or they have been explored illegally.
Illegally, right. And so, I mean, so it looks like now we say that the middle class has been wiped out, but then you have the upper class, the rich and the poor, right? What do you think, in your opinion, is the single factor why we see a majority of our people poor, despite the multiple opportunities that abound?
I think the first thing is our economy. The economy of a country is its resource allocation strategy. Or the economy of a country contains its resource allocation channels, right? Our economy does not contain natural resource allocation channels. There is a shadow economy in there. That shadow economy is in the black market, and it's where people can become billionaires overnight, maybe through government contracts or, you know, and people like to operate. The government likes that economy. The people also like the economy. That economy leaves out the poor, leaves out the stranger, leaves out the widows, and leaves out the orphans. So, and I'll be very honest with you. If you want things that can be, if you want trouble in Nigeria today, PF, you want trouble, let money not flow to the Yahoo boys and the runs girls. That's when you start seeing the country shaking, because that's the shadow economy. But as long as the money is flowing through politicians to those people, through multinationals to those people, and then the parallel one is flowing down to the guys that are employed, we will say there's prosperity. But are we really prosperous when 45% of Nigerians are multidimensionally poor? Multi-dimension meaning there's no hope for them. Now, of course, I know their mindset is what keeps them poor, but we're talking about where the responsibility of people lie, of government lie. So there's something called social capital or a social contract. It starts with a social contract. And when people come together to say we will live together under the country or under in a state, they inadvertently sign a social contract that these are my rights and these are my duties. I will let go of some of my rights so that I can accommodate your own rights, right? And these are my duties. That's the social contract. So the social contract is fair to some and is not fair to the others. Of course, there are those of us that have had to fight against the tide, but the truth of the matter is that the opportunities are not easy for some. And the reason is because there's a shadow economy that encourages and perpetuates corruption.
Wow, interesting. Now, there was something you talked about, the flow of wealth in Nigeria, Fisayo. I think you thought it a while back, many years ago. I mean, because now you mentioned the Yahoo boys. Is this something you want to retrace? Yeah.
So
that's nowhere to
you
position.
have to understand the way Nigeria's economy works, right? So normal economies, FDI or foreign investment or private and foreign investment comes into the economy, right? And it goes into the real sector, right? And the real sector creates value, and that value is captured in what we call gross domestic product, GDP, right? And when the real sector creates value, so the ground, let's put it that way, yields of itself increase and then blesses everybody. The corporations sell to the households pay their people's salary. The salary is paid. Once it's paid, the people pay their children's school fees, go to the market and buy things. They call that the circular flow of income. In any economy, it's the circular flow of income, right? Now, the Nigerian economy has holes that do not allow it. Now, let me put it this way. In normal economies, as a result of this, the laws of demand and supply works, which means that if something is too expensive, right, demand for it will go down. Are you with me? This barrel is too expensive. Demand for it will go down until a place where people can afford. And then people will buy that barrel at that price. As they're buying, its supply increases also. As the demand is going down, supply too also goes down because manufacturers don't want to oversupply something that is not selling. That's the law of demand and supply. As price goes up, demand goes down, supply goes down to a point where price goes, supply goes up again. Now in Nigeria, you go to 2nd Avenue Ikoyi, this is the price of a flat, $100,000, right? Nobody is paying for it. Are you with me? Nobody is paying for it. For the last 3 years, the flat remains empty. The price does not go down to the point that middle-income professionals, young and upcoming people can now rent it at maybe 5 million naira per annum and be happy that they're living in Ikoyi. The price does not go down. You know why the price does not go down? Because the person that built the flat did not build it as he built it as a store of wealth. to hide maybe stolen money. So he's not even concerned, and his resources are still flowing in Abuja or wherever he is. He's not concerned whether the flat is selling or not. So that corruption quotient or the corruption index, right, now makes it now makes it difficult for the laws of demand and supply to work. In Nigeria, there's something we call greedical, right? The measure of greed that is in one man, how you can measure it. So that corruption index does not make it possible, and that's where our problem lies. That until you take out that corruption index, so the money now comes in to the politician, bypasses other channels and goes straight to the side chicks and everything, and those ones send it to their mother in the village. And that's some kind of warped circular flow of income for Nigeria.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, someone is saying I'm stuck on administrative logistics on a project to help few people, but the financial budget is ready, but I need procedural help.
So you need process flows, you need SOPs, standard operating process. So it'd be good to know what kind of business this is, because without processes, you can't scale, right? So it'd be good to know what kind of business this is, so that you can scale. You need procedural help. So there are two options. Get someone who can do process and let the person just knock it out, or learn process yourself. But your time is executive time, so you have to be careful, because processes can be very, very, very detailed and very time consuming. Right? Yeah.
Okay. Fisayo, looks like NEPA has struck where you are. Okay, someone is asking, how do you get into partnerships, especially when you have the idea and you don't have the money? Sometimes people just want to buy you totally out, such that they leave you with nothing. And so let me just give a perspective to that question, because I think I've asked. So I know someone who took an idea to a governor in Nigeria, and then the governor said, "Oh, okay, this idea is very good, but we have a lot of people to settle and all the back ends, the godfathers, and blah, 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 blah." So he said, the sharing is going to be, you take 30%, we'll take 70%. And the guy felt it was good, took 30%, they took 70%. When it was time to pay, they weren't paying, they weren't forthcoming. So they came to him again and said, okay, all the people who are going to share this money have increased. So we're going to give you 10%, we will take 90%. The guy looked at it and felt, okay, 10% of that huge, humongous amount is something, right? So they paid once, then they came again and said he must go back to 5%. And so at some point, they came back again and started saying that he has to let go. So the guy has run out of Nigeria, right? Because then it's become a matter of his life is at stake. But the idea was a very, very brilliant idea that is making like tons of billions, in that case, how should such issues, because I think that it might be one of the issues that some of the people who get in partnerships are having.
There's obviously some that we don't know about that, because was there not a shareholders agreement? Do you understand? Is there a stock split? Every time your partners come, they cannot just come. Don't you have a watertight contract? Did they give you a contract? Did you get your lawyers to look at the contract? Did they have equity or convertible debt? What was the conversion clause in there, right? So I'll give you an example. Sometimes you can sign a contract without knowing that they have convertible debt, which means that they can change their debt to equity if you can't pay. And they don't, and they have the option to change it at a certain amount. So it doesn't favor you. So you have to check all those things. But the truth of the matter is that consecutive debt, convertible debt, right? We have to know. Nobody can just come and except they are bullying you and just come and say, take 5%, take 10%. No, this is not a negotiation. We have a contract. You bring your lawyers, I'll bring my lawyers. So did you involve lawyers at the beginning? Are you the only one going to the meeting as if you are the only one? These are the questions that we must ask. I don't know if you understand, PF.
Mm-hmm. But Fisayo, Nigeria being the country that can bully you. For example, I know a man who was building an estate in Lekki and is going to get a loan. And then I know two personalities who called him at different times. They'll just call him and say, you need to drop 1 billion. All right. Once he's doing that, the other person is calling to say, I need 500 million. And so you have to literally go and beg them to say, this money is loan. Right. And the man actually died. He died of depression. Right. And, so in that kind of situation, Fisayo, how do you navigate those kind of things? It's knowing fully well that, yes, you can get your lawyers, but then you are dealing with power blocks, right? Who they can do and undo. And then there's nothing, there will be no consequence.
I always say that you must come to the table from a position of strength. If you get to the table and you are weak on the table, leave that table. Do you understand what I'm saying? Leave that table. Always come on the position from a position of strength, right? So it's like dining with the devil in the blue dress. You must dine with your long folk that can handle it. You cannot handle it. Don't say you can handle it, right? Because if you come to the table from a position of strength, then people cannot just push you. And I've seen this happen. PF is right. I've seen this happen in this country, but usually I find out that the entrepreneur makes a small mistake in the contracting, because he maybe could not afford lawyers or he too did not want to, So, for instance, now, if I'm doing business with the power block, right, and they buy me and they give me a certain chunk of money, the first thing I'll get is go and get a senior advocate of Nigeria on retainership. That's how you do business in Nigeria. You get a senior advocate that likes trouble, go and deposit 5 million with him and say, I'm going to get into trouble. This is your retainer for 1 year. Please help me. The guy doesn't know what he's going to do. He might take it. I called one of my boss. I said, I'm going to drop money with you that you might hear that I enter trouble. He laughed. I said, yeah, because we are doing business in this country and they want to push us around. I've been in a place where a state government was bullying me. I did not agree for them. Do you understand? So it's possible, but you have to. Okay, let me give you an example, PF. I got an award letter to do something for a state. They gave me the award letter. And they said they would pay me a certain amount. They said they put the dollar amount, but they said because they are a state, they cannot pay me in dollars. And even though the donor was paying in dollars, they said they would pay me the naira rate of that amount, right? So I said, okay. So when I saw the award letter, sometimes we're so excited, we're not present. I took the award letter and I rewarded it. And I said, I will only accept the award letter under the condition that they write at the back of it, that sentence, and say, they will pay me at, this is the naira rate, subject to the spot rate on the day of disbursement. Because I saw the exchange rate doing what it would do way back, over a decade ago. They were happy, they took it. And decided feeling happy. Now, dollar has gone times 3 times 4 on what it was then. Come and pay. They said they cannot pay me that amount. I laughed. So they gave me another award letter that was 500 and something. Imagine in this age, you want to pay me dollar equivalent at 500 and something. You know what I told them? And this is where you must have courage. I said, there's no rate like that. And I refused to collect the award letter. Come and see bullying. Come and see calling. Come and see different people from different. We have not collected your award letter. Collect your award letter. I said, sir, I'm not collecting the award letter. Ma, I'm not collecting it. Sometimes you have to have courage. They will not kill you. You are just afraid of offending them. So I didn't collect their word letter. They don't know how to come for a meeting with them physically. It's just this week they're giving me normal award letter. And someone in the ministry now said, you won, you won, you won. I said, what do you mean I won? So you wanted to short pay me before? Because you just sometimes deal with wicked people. But you have to be courageous. Me, this year, no good for anybody. But again, there's a framework for which you entered into the partnership, so be careful. If you go and read the small print of all these things, you find out that this is what the guy signed up for. So read the small print, read the contracts, read all the legal parts. Do you understand what I'm saying? Read it. But get your lawyers to read it. So that when you stand, and then get lawyers behind you. Some of you don't have lawyers. I don't understand how you can do it business in Nigeria and not have. You have to have. Right? I hope that helps.
Yeah, someone is asking, are you suggesting some power block to back you?
Of course. That's why I kept talking about families. If you have your own family, you will not be being pushed around by another man's family. Choose your own family, right? Sometimes go and sit down in Nikon Hilton and be sipping virgin colada. Meet powerful people. Do you understand? You can't sit down at home. There was a day I will never forget. We sat down and we were talking PF, and this was years ago. PF said, Tiwala 10 million, but Bonsi, Gbogbo, I could send to deliver 1 million. This was more than a decade ago. You know? He was just saying it, and I thought to myself, this is so true. Tiwala 10 million, but Bawa Insi, Bawa Dio, we were young, we were, you know. But I remember I have had issues with police. I had issues with the police one day where it was the vice president that sent a lawyer from his friend. Do you understand what I'm saying? He sent a lawyer. He said, the police said, which firm are you from? He said, Simon Cooper. Olopa adjust. Okay, already, it's not something. Before I did left, right, Nathan Ebasi had called the general. The matter turned to something else. Come and see crusade in the police station. So the police station, the police they said that if you don't do this thing, they will use you to swap for someone that is on death row. Do you understand? So you have to show them you have people. So people were there, right there, every morning. The police station will be full. So the police were now asking, who is this person that we put here? You know what the police said? The policeman said, no, no, sell care. Go and stay in my office. They'll put AC for you. I'll tell them to be buying food for you. Look, and this is because I devote my life to, I have many Edmonds that I service the relationships. Edmond can say, sorry, man, quickly help me do, I'll do it. One day you will need Edmond. The day I was doing Professor Yemi Oshibajo's work, over a decade ago, before he became vice president, he told me, he said, Fisayo, you will need a friend. I said, yes, sir, I know. So reduce your money, you will need a friend. I reduced my money. That day, he sent lawyer. I was so happy. Yeah, they would have forgotten me here. So essentially, power understands only one language, and the language is power. You can't go alone. The child that does not have father will suffer.
Fisayo, I want to contrast that with, and I'm glad Ebu put that there. Ebu said, my pastor mentioned today that we should not be sitting in lounges and attending clubs. So he said, we are telling God he's not able to come through for us. In my mind, I said they play. Now, I want you to contrast that, what you just said right now, because people who have had all their lives, trust God, God is whatever cannot come from God, don't take it, you don't need a godfather, you only need God the Father. I know, and you know, Fisayo, that the people peddle this story. Back end, they have Godfather. They do all these things. But they tell people front end, they just make it spooky. At the end of the day, the person is stuck with them, doesn't see the need to connect and build relationships, does not go out of their way to places, because those places have been demonized. There's a picture that emerged during the week of the younger Abatwigwe, Gimokwede, what's his name? Fola Adeola, Shegun Agbaje. They were at the club, all of them were drinking, right? About 6 or 7 of them, and the late Tayo Aderin. Yeah. And someone put it in our group, and I looked at it and I said, these guys knew where they were going a long time ago, and see them how long they've been together. But people have been taught, don't go to this place, don't go to that place. Oh, God the Father is all you need. You don't need And so you realize that we are very heavy, rich spiritually or rich in prayer, but very weak with social network, social connection, and then we are very powerless. Can you speak a bit? That may be the final thing you're going to speak about.
But you know, PF, you know, I always fight you when you say this thing that we are rich spiritually. You cannot be rich spiritually and weak physically.
Well, we perceive
you are rich religiously. You are rich religiously. You know, essentially, and I'll take this from a very spiritual angle, so that you don't think that I'm ridiculing the spiritism. Okay, let me take it to you this way. Spirits have no jurisdiction on the earth. I've told you this before, right? God is the father of spirits, right? His only jurisdiction on the earth is to the extent that he connects with a willing man. Do you hear what I'm saying? So in giving birth to his own child, he had to pass it through the womb of a woman, because spirits have no jurisdiction on the earth. Anybody that tells you you don't need human beings, you just need God the Father, is a liar. Because God the Father himself needs willing men. Enter Joseph of Arimathea. Jesus died, all the apostles scattered. Strong men that are dealing with Jesus, they scattered. Only one man was able to go to Pilate to collect the body of Christ. It was not the man that was with him. It was the man that was supposed to be in the Sanhedrin. Jesus said it this way: other sheep have I that are not of this flock. Right? So I want you to reorder yourselves. They accused Jesus of drinking with the publicans because he wanted to make friends with those particular set of people. Right? I like what you said. In my mind, I said they play. One pastor called me and said, do I know somebody who can help them? You know, the jet is someone in aviation. I said, you see now, you want someone to help you with your jet. Yeah, you need someone in aviation. Come on now, where will you meet them? Get up. When you tell God to help you, you stay in Hilton in Abuja. If you sit down in the lobby in Hilton, you will meet people. Hilton is not a sinful place. It's as sinful as you make it. Do you understand? I have meetings there. This week I'm going to Abuja. I will still have meetings in Hilton. Sit down. Long time. How are you? That's how someone called me. Radisson Blue wants to do something. Can you consult for them? This is out of sight, out of mind. Right? Cultivate relationships. Sometimes God wants you are so arrogant. God wants you to chill and learn from people who you perceive are less than you spiritually. But you are too arrogant. But you will enter a plane that is flown by an unbeliever pilot. You will not tell him to park so you can come down. Right? Come on now. Let's be honest and let's be truthful to ourselves. Let's be honest and let's be truthful to ourselves. So when someone says, you know, I say wisdom and understanding, they are a bit sometimes can be miles apart. Wisdom can say, you don't need anybody, you need God the Father. It's true. But there are legs missing in the how does God the Father reach me? That's the understanding. Those legs are missing. God the Father will reach me through people, because spirits don't have jurisdiction on the earth. Spirits work with willing men. So God the Father will need a willing man. So you go into people's territories and you say, you don't understand how the spirit realm works. They are kings, they are rulers, they are principalities in their own territory. You don't need... When you go there with God the Father will tell you to appease them, because it's their territory, because he has given the territory to them. He will tell you that you need favor in this man's sight. The man, you need favor in his eyes. Do you hear what I'm saying? This is another deeper dimension. You need favor in his eyes. You cannot go there and slap him in his territory or call him by his name. They will beat. Hello, Shibemo.
Oh my God. And
you
know,
it's very important, because powerless people and territoryless people are the ones that talk like that. People that don't understand territories are the ones that talk like that. Tell you, you don't go to, you don't know, come on. Successful people were successful from day one. That's what PF was just saying. They knew from day one that we are going to own the world. We are going to rule the world. It is what's inside you that defiles you, not what's on the outside. That's what Jesus said. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Fisayo. You know, as we go, I remember a conversation I was having, and I won't mention the name of the religious leader. And I love to paint scenarios. I think Fisayo must have even been there that day when I said that if the federal government today decides that they were going to demolish your church, and this edifice you have built, they're going to demolish it, then someone now hinted you that the head of your music department is a side chick to the president, and that if the president listens to her, anything she says, the president will do. I now ask a question: will you activate that lady so that they don't demolish your building? And they said yes. And I said, but side chicken is a sin. He said, well, it would mean that God has sent the lady ahead. So does it mean that because he favors you, you will activate the lady? He said, and we will talk about the side chick thing later after the, right? And I just shook my head, right? And I think that's what Fisayo is saying, that guys, be careful who you listen to, especially when there's an agenda to withhold you or hold you bound, all right? There are places they've nullified, disqualified, but those places are the places where real connections are made. You need to understand that. Thank you very much, Fisayo, for
another... Sorry. So I was at a meeting with the client last Saturday, in the evening, and the first item on the agenda was club membership for our CEO. Then we have to get our CEO Ikoyi Club and Boat Club membership. Oil and gas company. First item on the agenda was club membership for our CEO. Things are going on in the boat club. You say you won't go there because it's unclean. They play. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fisayo, for another brilliant session. I mean, you guys, can we appreciate Fisayo? You know, I always say, when we were having the subscribers meeting yesterday, I showed them the 11 power centers that control every society, and where people need to position, and where a lot of people are positioned, and the role of religion. I mean, the people who were at that meeting yesterday and I told them, I would never share this publicly, you know. So thank you very much once again for being very practical. So guys, go out of your cocoon, right? All you need is God the Father. God the Father is going to use a human being. The human being is not coming to meet you where you are serving the God the Father. Go where they are. If you claim you are light and you are afraid that darkness will overpower you, then you are not light. You are a compromised light, right? And so if you are fearful and you say you are light, there is no light in you. Take that to the bank. So thank you very much for a fantastic, fantastic meeting as usual. I'm just going to close the meeting. There is nothing more to add. If you want to join our membership, you can go on our website houseofsaviors.org, right? Go on the website. If you want to give to the meeting, voluntary donation, you can reach Ayo Lawrence. That's our Oga there, but I want to appreciate everyone, for showing up today and for everything that we have learned. And, my joy is, and I mean, what excites me the most is that we're raising a new generation of enlightened people who understand rules of engagement. A lot of errors and lies have been sold to us over the years. People know how they are succeeding, but they're never going to share with you how they are succeeding, for reasons best known to them. Sometimes I think it's control. They're just going to keep it away from you and then will tell you, oh, it's by God's grace I'm doing it. It's by God's grace I'm doing it. Meanwhile, they are doing a whole lot more. So I want to believe that you are learning and you are going to do something great with what you are learning. So go out of your way, go learn these rules of engagement, go meet these people, go in there, right? As you are going, you can go 2 by 2. Jesus sent them out 2 by 2, so that, it's very difficult for them to kill 2 of you at the same time, at least, right? And so that you can learn and you can have buddies who you can, build your team, build your tribe, belong to a family. Resources, wealth is transferred through families. So don't just belong to some family where you are just a cell member and things like that. That is good, but much more, social capital is what rules this planet. Who is going to get into power tomorrow and remember you and say, that's my G, right? It needs to get into power with me. Who is that person? Do you have those people in your life, right? If you are fighting smaller battle, I want to be head of department, head of choir, head of usher, if that's the battle you are fighting, you're unserious, right? There's so much more. And God needs to use you at the highest level. But you must be like Nehemiah, serving wine to the king for maybe 20 years so that you can get diplomatic passport. You must be Daniel, right? Who was serving the kings you can call Eden and was special advisor to them. And there was not a time that say, king, if you don't pray, we will not start this meeting, right? You must be Esther, right? Be like Esther, be like Esther. Esther understood rules of engagement. We can't have that conversation because we will say it's vigil. We know what happened, right? So you need to wake up and know that if the resources you need is in the hand of the hidden, you need to understand the language of the hidden is called contact without contamination. Contact without contamination. So maybe you need to join a Koyi club. Maybe you need to join boat club. Whatever it is. If you can't join the club, do you know someone in the club that can mentor you, that you can, if it's a social media manager you have to them, or you are saying to them, oh, I noticed that you're not on social media. Can I be your social media? I'll be posting on your behalf for free. Kind of, right? Before you know it, you get some entries into certain places. Guys, let's stop joking and let's stop listening to very, very weak stuff that cannot empower you to become all that you are going to be.